Today I would like to introduce the Ultimate Transaction Query Builder. This is a tool that I developed. Some of you may have seen the Programmatic Query Builder, PQB, and this is a derivative of that, but specifically designed to do a very simple query build. I almost called it the super simple query builder, but I decided that I was going to tailor it towards searching transactions. I've used this a lot now with my own personal financial management and business financial management in Google spreadsheets to search transactions and create queries. So let's jump right into it, and I'm going to show you how it works. If you're familiar with the Google query function, what I've tried to do is lay this out with the left-hand panel being some configuration, and then the right-hand panel is the results along with some sorting and a little bit of other configuration. So we can kind of break it down into three pieces. Let's start on the left side, and this is especially meant to be used where you have transactional data. So in my example, I have a transaction sheet. It's set up like this with dates, descriptions, categorized transactions, and amounts, some tags, account numbers, etc. In this case, it's kind of like a business data set where I've put some property names. And what you do is put the name of the transaction sheet that you want to point to here in the first one. The GID is used to create hyperlinks so that you can quickly jump from any result. You see how it says invalid range? We're going to set that transaction value, and in order to do that, I need to display the GID. It's found in the top in the hyperlink like this. And I'm going to put that value here. And now you will see that my transactions, I can jump to row number 9, for instance. This is a rental transaction. We can come back and see that it matches up. So once you've set those two things, the dates here are just the entire date range of the transaction data set from the oldest to the newest transaction. That is the predetermined date range that it will use unless you filter it further. And let's move to the middle section now. And it's set up just like the query function in Google Sheets. You have, as you know, the query function has a data range that you need to set. In this case, I've set from column A to ZZ. I don't have up to row Z, but this basically covers you for anything that your sheet might grow in the future. And I keep the header row out of that. So one of the prerequisites is that your data should be set up with a header row and then the data underneath. So again, the query function starts with the data range that you run the query against, and then you have a select statement, and you're selecting certain columns. And then you have what where clauses, and we'll get to that in a moment, along with other things like a limit clause and a sort clause. So these capitalized labels are those portions of the query. So we start with the select, and here I've utilized this capability in Google Sheets for multiple selection in one dropdown. This is basically, if you go to data validation, that's I8, we have basically the header row of the transaction sheet. Any of those columns will show up, and I've checked the box that says allow multiple selections. And so what you can do is have those multiple selections. You can go in, and I'm going to show you what happens when I click another one. It just adds to the output, and it puts it at the end. Now, let's say I want to reorder them. I can come back up here. Let's say I want property to be before note. I can cut it, paste it, make sure I have a comma and a space, and now my property comes before my note. So reordering is very easy, and this is your select clause. You select which of the columns out of your transaction sheet you want, And I'm just going to remove property, and then note will go back where it was. So super easy select statement. And what it's doing is it's putting a list here. So you should not mess with any of these that aren't in a light blue color. So just as with many of the other tools that I've made, the light blue color is the one that you can modify, or that you should modify. All right, let's continue on to the where clause. This is pretty exciting because this is one of the most powerful features of the whole thing. You can now select multiple criteria for your where clause. So you have your date range, you have the columns that you're selecting for the output, but how do you want to filter it, so to speak? Well, you could say, I want where the tags column contains Roboto, where the account matches big business checking, etc., etc. And I have some default things set up here, but you can customize and create whatever you want. So you can basically highlight the last one, copy it down, and then clear it out and create something new. So first, let's show how it works. Let's show an example where the description contains best choice. Okay. To activate them, all you do is click the checkbox. So you can see now it's filtered best choice. Now let's say I want to see the ones where the category is pet fees. So category contains, this is a good example, okay? The new sheet, and you're going to have to do some setup at first. When I click it here, categories don't come up. That's because this is not aligned to the categories column. So if you come in here and it's not picking up the categories, then you're going to have to go to the little pencil icon, and it comes up here, and you click drop down from a range, you click select data range, you go back to your transaction sheet and highlight the category column. So you can see that it's transactions D. And now it picks up all my categories, and I can click done, go back. And now you'll only have to do that upon the setup, or if something changes and it no longer sticks with your column that you want. Okay, so category contains pet fees. You can actually just start typing it, it'll narrow down, and then use the checkbox, and now you have best choice, pet fees. Let's say we want to go further. We want only the amounts greater than $20. So amount, and I'll get to in a moment what these presets are, but amount greater than 20. And you can see now I have everything that's greater than 20. So super powerful, super easy. Let's add another one. As you saw, I copied that row. Let's do one more thing, and we'll say tags. Tags is track it. Contains track it. And there we go. And again, you could make this one a drop down by going to data validation and say add rule. Go over to, and then say drop down from a range, and then go over to your transactions to the tags column. Say okay, and you see it has all the tags. So then when you're doing it, you can just pick track it instead of having to type it in. Okay, so you could add more and more of those. I have some room for up to, oh, let's see, there's 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And this could be expanded further. If you needed help with that, you could let me know. But it's quite a few. The really cool thing that I'm excited about is this preset name, okay? So normally I wouldn't mess with the one that already had the preset, so I'm gonna set that back to what it was. It was 1,000. And a real quick tip here is when you wanna deselect multiples, you highlight them and press the space bar. Now we're back to no filtering criteria. So you see I have this column for presets. So any single, you can only apply one preset at a time. You can't do multiples. But let's say I want to see any amounts greater than $1,000 is called large transaction preset. So we have this preset over here and we can say large transaction and it automatically applies that preset. So you don't have to each time come and configure what you want. If there is one thing that you want to automatically come and check every so often, you can have the list of presets. Empty cats is another one. I like to come in and just say, okay, what are my empty categories? And then I can look at them, I can jump over to them just like that. So really powerful is the presets. Here's another one, amount contains 20. I can say 20, and it's anything that has 20 in it. It doesn't mean it equals 20. So we can look at that. That's this middle column. It has contains 20, but you have several options here. Equals 20 is a different thing. Contains 20 is anywhere there's a 20. Greater than 20, you have less than, greater than or equal, less than or equal to, contains, starts with, and then matches. These are all the different capable, let's say, criteria within the Google query function. I'm going to put it back to contains. And another thing to point out is when you have the preset set here, it's going to alert you by turning this green. So at any time when you just come into this query builder and you haven't been in there for a while and you might have left something, you can immediately know the status of what is being sorted and searched by the green. Okay, here we have a limit of 50 and we're running the 20 preset. If you take that off, nothing is running. We just have a limit of the first 50 in the sheet, 50 out of 974. If I click something over here, like all the category pet fees, then 43 out of 43 transactions that have pet fees, and you see it turned green. That's the where clause. Let me add in just a little clarification on the precedent of how the different inputs work when you select things in different areas here, especially for the where clause. So if you select a preset, it takes precedent. Whatever is here in the preset is the only thing that's going to be applied. In this case, large transactions, it's only applying this. You don't need to check it here, and that's the only thing that it's going to apply. You can't do multiple where items with the preset, unfortunately. But the sheet is flexible and you can achieve it in another way. So let's say you want large transactions with the tag Robinson. Okay, undo the preset. Since it takes precedent, you have to undo it. Do large transactions right here. That'll be the same as picking large transaction here. That's the same thing. And then on top of that, say I want tag to be Robinson. Like that, and apply it, and that's it. So you can do your large transaction and then apply something else. Or your large transaction and you want to filter with a date range. Basically that's it, that's the precedent. The preset is first. If you have a preset, it's the only thing that's going to run. Remove it if you want to do other things, and then anything you pick here is next. And if you have this one picked, this will apply in combination with these things. So you can start with your selected transactions and then say, oh, I want the tag Dollywood. Come back here and pick that tag. So you can do these in combination. So you can do anything here in combination, but preset will take precedence if it is picked first. Okay, so let's talk about the third section here. Right now you can see I have nothing applied except the limit. So limit is simply to limit the output, in this case to 50 rows. I like to keep my sheets relatively small if I can. So this one is 250 rows. What I have done is shown how many are displayed out of how many are available in any particular query so that you know if you have all the data that you've queried for or not. And you can choose to remove the limit if you want. If I took this 50 away, my sheet would automatically expand to 974 rows. I don't really want that right now, so I'm just going to leave the limit on there, but that explains to you how the limit works. The total transactions in the selected date range, in this case, the date range hasn't been limited at all. I haven't selected a start or end. So it's all the transactions in the sheet, which is 974. That will always show you what's within the selected date range. So if I want to limit the output to a certain date range, let's say I want to do just March 1st to March 10th. I can say 3/1/2025 to 3/10/2025. And you can see now it's saying in that date range, there's 33. And I'm displaying all 33 of 33. So I could safely take off this limit and it doesn't change anything. You can also see that now that I've put a date, these have turned green. Once you've entered a date, you can always double click and a date calendar will pop up. That makes things really easy to just adjust by a day or something if you wanted to, just to make it easier. Let's say I wanted to go from the 5th on. You can see my data range will reduce. I also have this date preset. So if you want to just use a preset, you can say this year, this quarter, this month. If I say this month and today's April 1st, then I will get this month. The only one that has extra entry is the last X days. And when you do that, you have a chance to put how many days in the cell next to it. That's from today going back 15 days. And I see there's a total in that date range of 13, and I'm displaying all 13 of 13. If I said last calendar year, you can see there's a lot. There's 540, and I'm only displaying the latest 50. So that's right at the end of the year. Okay, so the last thing to talk about is this sort row. And basically you can sort any of these rows by descending or ascending, anything that's blue and has the sortable thing here. If you add another column, you might say, well, that one's not capable of sorting. You can just copy and paste, and as long as you have data there, you'll be able to sort by it. So I'll undo that for a moment. But let's look at it. For example, if I want to sort by description, I can hit descending, and you see I have a limit, so it actually pulls different transactions. It'll pull the ones that are the latest in the start with the latest last letter in the alphabet. We have it ascending and remodeling. If we do by amount, we should see something. Yes, so we see that within one, like Ace Hardware, for instance, we now have it descending from the positive values to the biggest negative values. Okay, so yes, you can do multiple columns with the sorting, and that's basically how that works. Let's talk about the last thing here, which in my opinion is one of the most useful things that I use it for, which is let's clear out the green here. We'll leave the limit on. But what we can do is a selected transaction. So this means as you're reviewing your transactions in the transaction sheet, you can flag a transaction with this character. I've set it to T, but you could change it to something else. And you're going to flag it in column A. Of course, you could pick a different column to flag it. So in column A, I'm going to put a T anywhere. And let's just say top cut. Let's put a T here. And I'm going to jump over, and it will, once I enact it, it will pull all the transactions that match the description, category, and account that's flagged in that row 181. And you can see this allows me to jump over to the one that I've flagged. So it has description contains, top cut, category, gardening. So this allows you to say, okay, I'm in the transaction sheet. Let me see all the transactions that are similar to this selected transaction. And when I click on these three, and you don't have to click all three, you could just say, okay, I only want to match on the description. But a lot of cases, you'll have that same transaction categorized and in the same account, and you want to see all those together. So if I highlight those three, here we go. We've got all the transactions that are Top Cut LLC with gardening and in that account. and it will highlight the one that is the selected transaction in green. So it's pretty cool because you can say, okay, let me, and I haven't built this in automatically, but something that you could do is create a little sum cell here that will sum everything in the amount column. And you can kind of see for that selected transaction, here's all the relevant ones, and there's the sum. So, and you can see how did you tag it in different cases. This is just sample data, so it's fairly random, but you might say, okay, I have all these transactions now, let me sort it by the tags and put those together. So really powerful in my opinion. You can jump to any transaction using the hyperlink. It shows you that you don't have anything sorted by date. So out of 974 transactions, 39 of them match this, and you're displaying all 39. So your limit is not hindering you here. Okay, so that's about it for an overview of the ultimate transaction query builder. I hope that you really like it. I have one idea of something that I'm going to enhance it with in the future. You could let me know if you really would like it. What I'm going to do, and I already have the functionality built in to a cell here that I'm going to leave out for now, but I can add it in, or I could do a little tutorial about how you can put it in yourself. But what I thought would be really cool is you have a list like this, and now you want to do some striping or some banding to separate the different sections. So for instance, if you wanted to stripe it by tags, you could say, okay, you could alternate colors based on the change in tags. So it kind of, those sections kind of stand out. I really like that. I've applied it for myself, and I'm looking to enhance it in the future with that. If you think that would be good, get in contact with me or let me know, and I'm most likely going to create a little tutorial for that. I have a blog post written on my website about how you can do that striping, so you could attempt to do it that way yourself. It's not incredibly difficult. What I was going to do is use the sort column. So wherever it's sorted, in this case descending by tags, it would create the striping or banding based on changes in that column. So that wraps it up. Once again, I hope you liked it. If you have any comments or feedback, let me know. I'm going to put a link to this template in the video at the bottom. I'm going to take a little bit of a different approach than I have with some of my other products. I'm going to make this a pay what you think you would like to pay model. If you want it for free, you can get it for free. If you think it's worth something and you want to chip in a little bit, that's up to you. So I hope you like it. Try it out. And once again, thank you. And I'll see you next time with another sheet.